Join channel here over on Subscribestar. So every once in a while, I find a juxtaposition of two things to compare to, and this is Planet She-Hulk, the new She version of Hulk, and then I find these two things to compare them to. It's like these things they seem similar. They're images on a page, a way of telling stories, but one is just nonstop political, far left wing political, istophobic grievances, lecturing the customer, and the one is just lighthearted, silly, and fun. And like, oh well, we have these two things on the shelf. Which one do you think you're going to buy? It's like, I want the Japanese one. So why is manga and anime just kicking the hell out of American comics? Well, as someone said in the comment section, the writers of American comics, they treat comics like it's their Twitter. There is no attempt to tell organic stories at all. It's all Bolshevik propaganda. If they can't use a story to tell, we're going to send a message to the Chads. Like, didn't those Hugo Boss incels, didn't they used to be the bulk of your customers? Yeah, we're going to chase them away. Are you planning on replacing them with anyone? How has that worked out for you? Oh, we actually haven't. The new audience hasn't actually come in yet. Oh, that's an interesting. I'm not familiar with that type of marketing where you chase away the old audience before you have a new audience. Why would you want to do that? I don't know. I think we're literally insane. So comics is just like it's their 240 characters is not enough for them. So they have this comic thing. From 2020 to 2021, manga sales dramatically. Keep in mind that was in the midst of the Wu Flu panties in front of your face terrors. Manga sales dramatically increased in North America by an astonishing 171%. I'm sure American comics did just the same, right? Oh no, wait, didn't they have like a pencils down thing? That's weird. Isn't that weird? Like the pencils down compared to the Japanese. Oh, guys, sharpen your pencils. Quick, draw more comics. While the anime industry earned 13% more in total revenues than 2020. Fascinating, right? Give the customer what they want. Somebody should write that down. Yeah, somebody should get on that. So Disney saw the success of anime and they decided to start making their own. It's not even worth clicking on the links to investigate. Don't even bother reading the articles. There's nothing to get excited for with Disney or anything in the mainstream. Whatever Disney does is DOA, dead on arrival. Disney cannot do anything that works. They've painted themselves into a corner with the woke stuff, and there's nowhere to go from this other than bankrupt the company or hope that they can brainwash the younger kids to get on board this kind of thing. So anime and manga is what it is. It looks and it's drawn a certain way. Will Disney follow that model? No, you sweet summer child. They'll update it for the modern AmeriFat audience. So what exactly does that mean when a story or a movie is, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power? It's going to be updated. Oh, that's that's not a good sign when they say we're gonna try to get a new audience. We're gonna get we're gonna have pox walks and it'll open up. We're leaving money on the table. So say Leslie Headland. If we don't if we don't put a little potpourri of everything in the story, she said we're leaving money on the table if we don't put BLT and Latinx and whatever. And you go, but I mean, that presumably you're going to retain the old audience, right? And she looks at you like you have two heads. It's like, we're not really concerned about retaining the old audience. Anyway, so what does that mean when they say they're going to update it? Well, that means they'll turn it into the Eternals. If you saw that movie, you probably didn't. Swap out the fair characters and make everything BLT and woke, but that is not the Japanese style. Yeah, that's the point. Disney destroys everything they touch. So I saw these two images, these comparisons, Planet She-Hulk and this stuff. And whenever I see anime or manga, just the images alone are so different from the American cancer. Japan is having fun, and the American comics seem fat, miserable, stupid, and ugly, and political, just endless topical politics. But of course, only against the right, and always angry at the beautiful blonde people. They're the only group you can go after. I will say that some people are becoming a little bit more aware of this, and they're starting to look at this stuff and go, maybe you should just look in the mirror if you want to blame someone instead of. Maybe you should just start being better people, comics and movies people, instead of just using one antagonist. Anyway, so let's check in on Planet She-Hulk. It's like Planet Hulk from, I think, 2006. but with propaganda about evil blonde and red-haired men, and a storyline about, yes, you guessed it, refugees and evil men on the horseback equivalent protecting their borders from when Biden got into office. That was it's just taken from the headlines, right? But I guess comics have got a pretty long lead-in time because this story feels really out of date. I mean, there's like why don't you have a story about they're flying the airplane out like, and people are literally on the exterior of the airplane. Like if you told me that story, so you got like a big cargo jet, and they're on the landing skids, yeah, and the wings, and the plane is taking off. I wouldn't have believed it if you told me the story. It's like that's insane. Like, how do you lose control of a situation that well? And I mean, what's going through everyone's mind? Like, how do you, that's like a third world country leaving another third world country. It's like, yeah, pretty much. Or the image of the helicopter, the Vietnam fall of Saigon, it was a 73 or 72 or something. It's like, oh yeah, they did that in, I don't know, Kabul or somewhere. It's like, oh, so it's a cargo helicopter leaving a rooftop evacuation. Oh, that's kind of an L? Yeah, kind of an L, but the media will, of course, cover it up. Anyway, so it's Planet Hulk with propaganda about evil blonde and red-haired men, and the story about refugees and men on horseback protecting the borders. Because why not? The thing is, people had already kind of forgotten this story from, I don't know when it was like 2 years ago. They've got guys on dinosaurs who are meant to symbolize the border patrol horses when they had these reins, and they were swinging the reins around. They're whipping these people. It's like, no, they weren't, because you can watch the video. They're just swinging the reins around. They weren't hurting anyone. And they're rounding up the dirty muties, and it smells like mustard and bigotry, and it's just so on the nose. It's touching the brain, and nobody cares about this stuff. It's just like, this happened 2 years ago, and you're just putting it in comics now. And it's like, oh, you're evil if you want to protect your borders, but it only seems to work one way. I mean, it's not like you can go in this country and their country and become a citizen. So I mean, it's not really open borders. It's sort of something else. Anyway, so American comics are basically about how much different tribes hate each other, but it's only one group of people's fault. It's like there's no fault to be laid at the feet of anyone else. It's endless racial grievances and, of course, girl power. Whatever politics are topical for the day is what American comics will cover, but they never show both sides. It's only a far left-wing perspective is shown, and the declining sales reflect that. I know. So the Japanese manga did a 171% increase. The American equivalent would be you'd have a minus sign in front of that. So Japanese comics are these beautifully drawn characters having romantic adventures, and yes, they all are drawn a certain way, and you could do that in America if you wanted to, but Disney and DC do not want to do that. Draw them in that same style. It's like, but that's the Japanese style. If you want to make Japanese style, oh no, we're gonna update it. Yeah, we know what that means when you say you're gonna update it. We know what that means. Anyway, Japanese comics are selling and American comics are not. Something like one manga outsold all of domestic comics. Congratulations. So let me use this Planet She-Hulk as an example. It's not exactly good or bad. It's just nothing. They're on this dreary planet. Everyone and everything sucks. They're the poor, marginalized, and oppressed green people being disenfranchised and othered by the blue people, and something systemic or systematic. Just nobody cares anymore. Comics used to be an escape from the ordinary. What's the point of reading comics if the same commies who are controlling CNN and MSNBC are writing the exact same narrative in comics? There's no escapist fiction if you see the same thing repeated everywhere. I mean, it's why Comicsgate was able to get so powerful, and why the response to some guy sitting in his car holding a cell phone laughing at comics, like why they lost their minds over one guy doing that, because it's a threat to their narrative. And it's like they're on, I guess, very shaky ground. If someone in a car with a tiny little YouTube channel could make them that upset, all you had to do is ignore him, and like you wouldn't have brought him more attention. But they didn't. Like they had to try to shut them down as much as they could. So we get it. I think it's as subtle as a turbocharged tractor. The one time there are humans in the mix, you've got three evil white hunters with the classic presentation of who they are. They're cruel and stupid, of course. They're maliciously setting out bear traps that trap a T-Rex or something just stupid. Which is funny because the Chinese are actually paying the Africans to slaughter rhinos and elephants in Africa to make soup out of their horns or something equally stupid. Doesn't it seem odd that comics or movies never touch on stuff like that? It's all this inverted version, a mirror world where everything bad that's done by Pox in the real world is replaced with a blonde person, and then the swap is done in the reverse with the heroes also. Dear modern comics and films, we actually love ourselves and we know how awesome we are. Your stories are not brainwashing us to your worldview. It's safe to say the opposite is happening. We see these companies and the evil narrative they're pushing, and it's activating the almonds. If you went to Marvel and you wanted to tell the story about the Africans and the Chinese slaughter of rare animals, I think even Slash has got a musician's got a charity that deals with the elephants and the tusks, the ivory or something. I think they use it to make medicine and stuff. The whole thing is just ridiculous. How dare you say the marginalized and oppressed 2 billion Chinese are ridiculous? I mean, they're slaughtering elephants to make soup, and just for the ivory, I'd say that's pretty ridiculous. Oh, okay, well, yeah, okay. Well, you got us there, but we're still gonna ignore it because for some reasons. Um, so if you went to Marvel and you told them that story, yeah, let's tell the story of the what's going on in Africa, the Chinese, and the editors would physically attack you. Some 400-pound Marvel walking heart attack would be throwing the coffee pot at you. Dear American Bolshevik comics, you can make non-European people the bad guy, except if you make the hunters black or Mexican or Chinese or whatever. The Twitter sphere will whine about the istophobic portrayal. It's a threat to our democracy. So you're left with one group to portray in this manner. Like every single antagonist is always going to be this one group of incompetent people, which is weird because I mean, hey, look how stupid they are. Oh, aren't they dumb? I mean, they did build Europe, and it's like that triangle of innovation from the UK and France and Germany. It's like most of the human advancement came out of that triangle. It's weird how they're portrayed now. Is all I'm saying. Like, you look at a commercial, it's like, huh, this is it's getting a bit heavy-handed. Something's not adding up here. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.